Red Bull have introduced the RB20, a car that has much to prove in the F1 world amid particular internal affairs. And without doubt, the engineers back at Milton Keynes have worked miracles in order to produce this masterpiece. But there are a couple of things in the design of the RB20 which Red Bull have tried hard to hide. So let's dissect everything, front to back, down to the alleged zeropods Red Bull has implemented on its 2024 Challenger, to find out what the RB20 really looks like. Adrian Newey and Pierre Washi have worked smart this winter, turning the clock around, setting a new benchmark. While everyone expected the RB20 to be a third evolution of the initial RB18, the team has gone aggressive, implementing lots of ideas that most rival teams have not even considered implementing. Best example of that would be the closed side pods bodywork, with Radiator Inlet sporting the failed zeropods concept. But there is more to the RB20 than meets the eye. Starting from the front wing, that in itself has some unrevealed aspects. For starters, the aerodynamic profile of the front wing is very similar to that of the 2023 Red Bull design, but the nose has been reprofiled, extending itself down to the first element. This is not the design I expected to see at Bahrain, due to the sole fact that having the nose connected to the second element has far more benefits than a vice versa. A backing up fact to my claim is, recent news uncovered Red Bull of having problems passing the frontal crash test, but with the nose the RB20 sported at launch, that should not have been an issue at all. So my guess is, Red Bull will turn up to the Bahrain testing sessions with a radical front wing, having the nose connected to the third element, working out twin slot gaps to gain aerodynamic advantage. Moving on to the front suspension, the layout is the same as previous generations, a pull rod configuration. The only change noticeable is the rearmost lower wishbone leg is mounted a slight bit higher, working a bit more anti-dive, to stabilise the front of the car under acceleration. Moving on to the side profile, that's where the most hidden details are. To start with, the side pods have a closed inlet, with the adjacent having a fine curvature radius. This plays into two concepts, the overcut and the undercut. Just taking a look, the undercut within the RB20 side pods is aggressive when compared with previous iterations. That in itself will pull high energy airflow towards the car's coke bottle area, prioritising pressure difference. But having a closed curvature lip in front works the overcut as well, pulling airflow over the side pods down to the diffuser and beam wing area. The most interesting piece of design around the side pods is the Radiator Inlet, something Red Bull has worked hard to hide very carefully. From the side, we can see a vertical inlet, much similar to the zeropods implemented on the Mercedes W14. Many believe this vertical inlet to be the Radiator Inlet, and hyped around it, suggesting Red Bull to have perfected a design Mercedes messed up from the get-go. But a selfie Sergio Perez has taken provides more insight into the cooling package, and proves the trickery Red Bull is playing here. Looking at this picture, we can clearly see that the vertical inlet is not wide enough to cool the power unit and internal electronics, not suiting to be a single radiator inlet. This suggests to me that Red Bull for sure are running a vertical letterbox-style radiator inlet, which apparently is hidden within the show car. Moving onto the floor, we can see a compact lower side impact structure. Rearwards, the floor edge details are clearly hidden, but from the photos we have seen from the RB20 shakedown, there seems to be an intricate profile. Taking a look at top body aerodynamics, Red Bull have clearly taken inspiration from rival teams. Most notable ones are the engine cover cannons, taking shape into the Mercedes bazookas the W14 sported, but Red Bull's cannons slope downwards very steeply. This design is implemented to route airflow from the top bodywork down to the diffuser, beam wing and rear wing. Below the cannons, close to the suspension fairings is a cutout, possibly an air exhaust aiding in cooling purposes. The air scoop has a design change as well, moving on from a circle to an oval round shape. Red Bull clearly kept everyone off sporting the car's rear, so we have little information. Checking out the rear wing, Red Bull has got the cutout on the end plat, biggest one of the entire grid. While the DRS efficiency of the Red Bull has been supreme, the car's ability to shed drag on normal conditions has been minimal, due to downforce being priority. But now, Red Bull have taken inspiration from the likes of McLaren and Mercedes with the rear wing cutout. Finally, taking a look at the rear suspension, it's similar to its predecessor, a pushrod configuration. From what we know, Red Bull likes to play around the anti-squat levels, so there might be some play in this segment on the RB20 as well, to stabilise the rear of the car under braking. All improvements incorporated on the RB20 are moving Red Bull towards the aggressive trajectory. coming a couple of weeks after Adrian Newey expressed his thoughts about the RB19 project being too conservative in terms of development. From what we've seen so far, the RB20 is an engineering masterpiece, as Red Bull have undoubtedly poured all their firepower to achieve the pinnacle within aerodynamics and kinematics. But originality is something that Red Bull has had to give up to some extent this season, as Newey confirmed the development trajectory of the past 2 seasons has expressed where the limits are within the current set of regulations, and he believes that puts many teams on a path of convergence. Adding on to this matter, the veteran designer went on to say, "This year, from what I understand, a lot of people, our rivals, have kind of taken a good look this time and probably come. I expect there will be quite a few cars that look very similar to ours. Our car will be very much a third evolution of the 22 car. So last year's car was an evolution of the 22 in the main points being the normal winter development in terms of aerodynamics. Some of the understanding of what we need to do with the suspension to try to improve the car as well as getting weight out of it, because we never got down to the weight limit in 2022. This year's car is the third evolution of that original RB18. Now what we don't know, of course, is whether the third evolution is too conservative, while others have done something different. You just don't know. It's a difficult one. That is the question of whether we should keep having a group that goes out and looks at completely left field ideas, or do we keep developing the route we've taken? While Newey expressed his concerns on taking the aggressive pathway, that is exactly what he and his technical team have chosen to pursue with the RB20. So, Red Bull are all in, and Newey seems to be confident with the car's performance. Following a successful shakedown at Silverstone before the car's official launch, we know roughly what we've done from the shakedown at Silverstone. It seems to have, from what we can tell, behaved as we expected it to, Newey said at the launch. But that's no guarantee of anything. It could be that some of the teams have done a bigger jump than us. We shall have to see. Current world champion Max Verstappen would be aiming to extend his streak to become a 4-time world champion. The RB20 is key to that, and the Dutchman had some interesting things to say about his machinery. Expressing his feelings about the RB20's design and on-track performance, Max Verstappen's first words were, "Wow, I'm quite happy with the direction that they chose." He said, "I saw the drawings, I think in Abu Dhabi, the last race, and I was like, wow, that's quite different in a way. They've not been conservative, let's say that. I think what I like about the team is that we had a great package, but they took the chance to really go out. I would say and try to make it better," he continued. Of course, time will tell if it's really, really good. But from what I can see, within the team, everyone is just happy with what they've achieved in the winter. But then again, we don't know. We can't control what other people did. From what we've seen at the launch of the RB20, the change in aerodynamic philosophy has caught everyone's eyes. But I'm still expecting a different car come Bahrain. But what's your first impression regarding the RB20's design? We are very much into your thoughts and perspectives in the comment section down below. And on your way down, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to get notified of our future uploads to keep yourselves up to date about the 2024 Formula 1 season.